Well, it's going to be, we want to be naturalists. All right.
Okay, so what?
Yeah. So anyways, there were 2 points that were just made that I thought were just great. One was could you say it again? It was so beautiful about perspective of the absolute, and that I mean, basically, it's that we look at business from the point of view of the self.
Right. So,
and that's what makes the site and what we're doing unique.
Yeah. So, how do I say it again? So, in the level of absolute, there's no small I. There's only one big I, which belongs to everything, and the characteristic of the absolute or the big I is that there is no selfishness. There's only selflessness. And when you give something, you are being selfless. When you take something, you are being selfish.
But actually, when you give, it's being ultimately selfish because you're giving to yourself.
Yes, it's selfish to the big I, not to the small I.
I see.
Yes. And then, when you see a business from the perspective of giving,
Yeah.
you are working from the perspective of being selfless, and that's what connects you with the absolute. Yes, you are getting paid back, but you're getting paid back from the perspective of big I, not small I. But then again, because you're gonna.
But what's the difference? What's the difference between big I and small I?
Small I, you act solely for your own benefit. You don't care about other people.
More on a superficial level.
Superficial level, like I take your money. I'm happy. He said small I because I differentiate him and me. But when we talk about big I give him something, he's happy, I become happy. My happiness, you can say it's selfish, but it's selfish from the perspective of him happy and me happy. We are both happy, big I is happy. That's the difference. So
so what now? Okay, so you're saying that the idea from our class is that it's that's what business is about. When you saw these different entrepreneurs come in and speak, you saw through what they were saying that was their perspective. I mean, because when they told their stories, it was always the individual starting the business, the challenges they faced, and all that. What about them made them unique as entrepreneurs? Because I know you like to listen to entrepreneurs. Why were they different?
They're different because I don't know. For my perspective, every entrepreneur is different. They're different in their own way. But Fairfield entrepreneur, they came here. I mean, when they came here, there was nothing here. But they took their leap of faith because they believed in something and they worked it through and they made it. I mean, it's much easier if they had gone to New York, Chicago, Los Angeles and did something there. Maybe it's gonna be much easier. But Fairfield, in the middle of nowhere, welcome to the Silicon Valley, you know. And they.
But what did that have to do with the self, though? So this idea that you're talking about, that it was the big self versus small self and the way they ran the businesses.
Right. I think you can answer it better because when you first came here, you had this motivation that you came here for a much bigger purpose.
Yeah.
World peace or whatever it is.
Right. I came here to influence the world, to help create world peace, and for my own personal growth and personal evolution.
Exactly.
But isn't that pretty selfish?
No, it's not because from what you just said, you came here for a bigger purpose, for the good of the world.
But at the same time, if he receives joy from that act, then that's a selfish act.
It's okay.
If I walk down the street and I wave to somebody and they don't wave back, it used to kind of make me a little sad. But that's not the case anymore because I realize that the whole point of that gesture and that exchange is from my perspective. Because me waving to that person makes me happy. So me waving, while it can be observed quite easily as an act of kindness, and it still is inherently, it's ultimately a selfish act because I receive joy from it. So there's a real negative connotation that comes with the word selfish, and it's just not.
It is a big as selfish, not small as selfish.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so it's something that is, and big S selfish means it's something that enriches the whole creation.
Yep.
Maharishi talks about every action having a ripple effect on everything in creation, every thought, every action, every achievement. And so you're saying a selfish act from the big self point of view is that we all enjoy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That the whole creation flourishes.
Yeah.
For every thought and action.
Yeah, I think that's also the what differentiate between Fairfield entrepreneurs and not Fairfield entrepreneurs, because they come here with the basis of, they came here with the basis of the pure consciousness, and they are aware that there is something called pure consciousness and the unified field, and what brought them here all together, and then they start operating from that basis is what differentiates Fairfield and other entrepreneurs.
And they start operating from that basis because it's their experience.
Yeah.
It's not just that they intellectually have this idea that there's a big self. It's just
Yeah.
every day they're meditating and
Exactly.
experiencing. And yet, so a lot of businesses failed. There was a lot of problems in a lot of the businesses. Sometimes there was conflict. Sometimes there was all the problems you see in business. I mean, what would you...
So look, here's the thought. So this high-S self thing and the
Yeah.
giving and the angle that you just proposed. Well, when you marry that essentially to someone who is actively participating in transcendental meditation in the cities program, you have a culturing of the heart value. So when you bring those things together, what naturally is going to give rise is greater heart value and more apparent expressions of the self through all actions, but businesses especially.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead. Ask me.
Answering your question.
Yeah. No, you go ahead. No, answer my question first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So answering your question, like there are some politics, there are some what else was it? Conflicts.
Right. Within a business.
Because the elements of the business, the people, they are acting from their own for their own benefit. The small S is working. They want to get benefit. They want to get happy on the cost of other people being whatever. That's what creates conflict.
And so as we meditate, and as the community meditate, and as the consciousness of the world rises, then there's less of that. It's not like an all or nothing switch, is what you're saying. That for those, speaking for myself, starting my business, I wanted to grow, and a lot of my actions were for survival.
Right.
But hopefully, I was coming from a quiet place in terms of a lot of the decisions I made, and yet it wasn't perfect at the time, and so to that extent, it may have created something negative, but overall, the tendency of myself and all the other Fairfield entrepreneurs was to act in a way that was really quite unique, based on that knowledge of pure consciousness and the experience of pure consciousness, the knowledge of being the self, being that big self rather than the small self.
Yeah.
Is that...
Yeah. I got your point. That's very beautiful, but I would like to make it a little bit more practical.
Sure.
So when you meditate, what happens is that you release your stress, you become less tense, and then you become more energetic. You have more time and you have more energy to think everything through.
Yeah.
It's not just you're gonna be looking at something very narrow, but you will have higher perspective because you are more fresh when you meditate, right?
Yes.
And when you
it's that dual focus, the thing that it's these opposite values of really seeing the holes, really seeing all the possibilities, really being open, and yet having to be so focused, especially when you're starting a business, on that one thing. And it's the combination of those opposite values that get developed as we meditate.
Yeah, that's true. I totally agree. And when I said about being so narrow, is that when business is all about problem and solving the problem. But if you cannot see broad enough, when you see a problem, what you see is the problem. You don't see the solution beyond the problem.
Right.
But when you're fresh, you'll be able to see everything is opportunity and solution, right? So when you don't meditate and you feel so tired and you feel exhausted, you only see the problem and your world seems collapse.
Yeah.
When your world seems collapse, what you do, your survival instinct starts to kick in.
Yes,
you do whatever to save yourself on the cost of other people.
Right.
That's what happens if you don't meditate and when you're exhausted.
Right. And as a business is like its own entity that wants to survive.
Yes.
And if you have that sort of survival instinct that anything, it doesn't matter what you do, just so you survive, is very different from having a holistic that it's all about creating positivity in the world, and you can survive and thrive with that orientation if you're coming from the self.
That's true. Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
that's why it is different between Fairfield entrepreneurs and non-Fairfield. I mean, entrepreneurs, because now they are operating from the basis of pure consciousness.
Which is the source of where all thought comes from.
Yes, exactly.
And one thing that's interesting is this whole thing is the identification with thought. So most of us, most in the world, especially if you don't meditate, you identify with what's going on with the business, with the ups and downs of the business. You think that that's who you are, the ups and downs of the business. But as you meditate, you come to realize, oh, it's just a game. And they're just thoughts, and the business comes and the business goes, and opportunities come and they go, and we jump on it. But if the business fails, I'm not a failure. If the business succeeds tremendously, I'm no more important.
Yeah.
And this is another sort of effect. So Dustin, you were talking about Maharishi and the effect of Maharishi and the uniqueness of what he contributed.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you observe that dynamic in his mission to legitimately establish means to reach world peace. World peace, and that's a lofty statement, yeah, but you know what? It is a statement, and it is a definitive expression and direction. So that's a decision that was made, that was a goal, and it's still being pursued even with him having left the body some time ago now.
I see tremendous transformation of the earth and of human consciousness since we moved here in the 80s in Fairfield. I know if you watch the news and you listen to all the everything from climate change to terrorism and so on, you think, well, the world is. But if there's other things you can be looking at and seeing that there's something that's very special. For one thing, the networking of people, the connection of people, and the fact that it's like a different kind of humanity that's taking place now.
Oh yeah.
Because when we started our business, we were like individuals. We were able to network within Fairfield, but even to get out of Fairfield, you had to make a phone call.
Right.
Now you're connected with people on the other side of the planet by interest, by values. And when you think about the synergy that takes place when there's so many people interacting and connected, and now with half the planet will be connected by the year 2020. What is it? 5 billion?
It's pretty insane. It's like 6 now, I think.
Yeah, it's just all the number of humans and all that consciousness, all that intelligence.
And it's the self-interacting dynamics of consciousness.
Yes.
It's happening instantaneously.
I mean, it's like the self on a gross level. Just
Completely.
We're all becoming one.
Completely. But look, so here's a gross level. This is a recent realization for me. This is something that I'm going to be working on and will basically kind of be like a signature Vedic science correlations piece for me. Maybe it could be like, I don't know if dissertation is the right word or whatever, but the Greeks have had ways of observing time 2 ways: chronos and kairos. Have we had this conversation before?
The sun and
No. So
pyramid.
Chronos is
time.
Chronos is time. Yes.
Yeah.
So sequential unfoldment of time as a unit of measurement, quantitative. And then you have kairos, which is representative of qualitative component of experience. Moments of timelessness, dare I say transcendent, right? So I find this to be completely fascinating, and this has been an area where I've had my focus lately, and this is the reason why. A big part of, a huge part of me and just expressing myself now in the context of the whole, holy cow, look at the company that I'm sharing. I came from 4 years ago, total stretch. So for me, having subjected myself to a conscious awareness of Chronos, the Chronos value, Saturn, right? Taskmaster, getting things done. Hal's baby laughing on the inside. He's coming from Dusty, okay? So, but for me to be aware of, like, on a disciplined routine, just to simply meditate twice a day, every day, that's a discipline. For myself to culture myself through a job, through a focus and a discipline and an intention, right?
Yeah.
I've felt that by doing so, by exposing myself consciously to Chronos, that's going to open the door for myself to be able to experience more Kairos moments. And I feel that's largely true, but that has essentially been trumped with a recent realization in that the two exist simultaneously. And here's an example. As we just talked about, modern time, now, what all these people on this planet and the modes by which we communicate. Never in our relative physically manifest form has there ever been such a clear-cut example of something on this gross superficial level that embodies both characteristics as well. So we have the Chronos element right here. This is Chronos. Kairos is the unseen circuitry that sends the message and allows the message to happen. This is Chronos. Chronos is the container. It is the container. This is Chronos, right? Well, what's Kairos?
Consciousness.
It's the unseen circuitry that gives rise to it all.
And you know, the thing that when Maharishi talks about that's so helpful is that now that knowledge is structured, and consciousness and knowledge is different in different states of consciousness.
Exactly.
And on the surface, we see bodies, we see computers, we see the clock that ticks and goes around. And on the depth, we see value, quality, and even deeper, you see consciousness, and experience consciousness. And it's a different, whether you're talking about the physical world, the galactic world, the atomic world, the subatomic world. It's all different existences,
Fluctuations of
that
consciousness.
exist simultaneously together, and all as a manifestation of that inner silence that we experienced during TM. You know, one other thing I wanted to just finish one thought about the interconnectivity. Well, so what, you might think? Well, so what, we're all connected?
That's a good question. I like that.
And my answer would be, for one thing, it's a different. It's like a different entity when you have all these synapses, all these atoms, all these humans connected and interacting. It's like this almost different species, or the species coming together. And on a more practical, down-to-earth level, there's a great book which I recommend called Bold, and which basically not only is there this connectivity, there is all these technologies like artificial intelligence, robotics, 3D printing that are evolving in a very, very rapid way. And there's all this knowledge that's available and skills that are available. And so what that means, if somebody has an idea to solve one of the world's problems, they don't need institutions, they don't need all of what they used to do. They can network, they can go on social media, they can find like-minded people, they can find the skill set that needed to solve the problem, and they can raise the money through crowdfunding.
Right.
And so we're empowering this humanity to solve its own problems. And with the consciousness that's been raising all these years, through all these people have been meditating for so many years, the consciousness of the planet is just higher. It's just the people are more in touch with that. That means they're more in touch with their being, the self, the cosmic force, the cosmic energy, the cosmic direction. They're more in tune, and as a species, we're becoming more in tune, which makes me very optimistic about the future rather than very negative about the future. So why don't we...
Let's get the transcript on this one and send it to USA Today, Hal.
Can we cut it off?